8 things an overthinker says to themselves that ruins their work life. What if I make a mistake? Well, this is something very, very common that a lot of people think about in their workspace. They're afraid that they're going to make a mistake. And if you look at this particular statement, what if I make a mistake? It's like a cliffhanger, right? I mean, you're giving yourself an open-ended statement and you're free to interpret multiple possibilities of what if I make a mistake. So this is one thing that an overthinker or a person who thinks a lot does. They ask themselves a lot of open-ended questions, and whenever there is an open-ended question, you have endless possibilities and it never stops. So even as human beings, whenever there is a cliffhanger, we often are always interpreting what are the multiple scenarios, and we would never stop unless and until a sequel to it is being put. So same with our minds, and especially for simple things like this. What if I make a mistake in my presentation? Then my boss will be angry, then I will lose my job, then I will be fired. Oh my god, there are so many negative possibilities, so you don't do anything. So whenever you overanalyze a particular thing, you become paralyzed. So you don't do anything about it and you're stuck in the same situation without even knowing what the outcome is going to be. So whenever you're overthinking statements like this, the solution to this is, for every what if, add it there. So this logic is very similar to a coding program, if and then statements. I learned this in my 8th grade. So it's a simple code wherein you apply certain things that you want the program to do by the if command, and the then command basically helps you to execute that particular statement in a manner that you want it to get executed, right? So same with our minds. So we need to program our mind in such a way that whenever I say statements like what if I make a mistake, then complete that particular statement by adding a then. What if I make a mistake? Then I would probably get fired. So this is the worst possible scenario, and you know that the chances of it happening is very less. Unless you're a very bad employee or you've been given repeated warnings, this particular thing is not a possibility that's going to happen for a mere presentation, right? So this is something that overthinkers do often, and this is a solution that you can definitely implement. Second statement, I need to make sure everything is perfect. So a person who overthinks a lot is sometimes chasing perfection. And the thing with perfection is you can never really attain it, because somewhere or the other, a person's interpretation of what perfection is very different. So for me, it could be in a presentation especially, it shouldn't be too cluttered or there shouldn't be too much of information, and whatever is being presented should be crisp, easy to understand. So for me, that presentation is perfect. But for somebody else, it could be maybe they don't want any grammatical error in their entire presentation, or they want a lot of information. So pursuit to perfection is actually a myth, because what is perfect to me may not be perfect to you, right? So often when we are chasing this, we forget the essence behind why we are doing something. So in your work situation as well, perfection is not what your managers are looking for. They're looking for ones who are able to execute things in a right manner, and even if there is errors, if you're able to find a solution from that errors, it's a win for the company, right? So this is the solution for those thoughts that you have, which is chasing behind perfection, and to some extent it reduces your potential as you're focusing on things which probably other people are not focusing, and you're spending a lot of time doing it without realizing that this particular time spent is not going to be of any reward to you. Statement 3. They probably think I'm not good enough. Well, this is something that a lot of us think. We have a little bit of this imposter syndrome, but if it becomes a habit, then it can really hamper our confidence and how we value ourselves in the team, right? So we often go into self-doubt, and when we get into self-doubt, it kind of shakes away. Even though we are good at something, it kind of makes us feel like we're not good at it, right? So the best way to come out of this imposter syndrome is by adding things that you're good at in the workspace. Like, say somebody complimented you, or somebody told that your work is good. or you felt a lot of satisfaction delivering a particular submission or delivering something that you were asked to do. So remind yourself of these things so that it is like a balance to the excessive unhelpful thoughts. Hang on, when I'm talking about these statements, are you reminded of somebody from your family or friend circle? Well, share this video to them as it could be helpful, as we're not only talking about what an overthinking is, but we're also talking about how we can get out of this loop and try to have a life that we are aiming towards. So don't forget to share this video to anybody you feel is mirroring these thoughts or saying to you about these thoughts. Statement 4. I should have done this a little differently. Well, it's always good to think about, how you could have done things better. But if you're going to be stuck onto your past actions, then we would never be focusing on the present and moving ahead. So this is a common statement that a lot of overthinkers do, and because of which they don't really progress in their work, as they're constantly thinking of what could they have possibly done to improve the previous scenario. Right? So whenever you're catching yourself doing this repeatedly, what you can do instead is pick on a new project, and whatever things that you're thinking about the past, try to implement it on the current project. Now you might say that the projects could be different, but the process of certain things could be the same. So whatever you're thinking about doing differently with respect to the process, try to do it in the new project so that it's not just in your mind, but you're actually working towards it to see if you're in the right track or not. Statement 5. What if they don't like my work? Again, this is a scenario of what if. So what do you do when you have a what if statement? Yes, you complete it with a then, because this really helps you to get away from a cliffhanger and actually have an ending. So something, Netflix, social media platforms like Instagram and Facebook, they have used something very similar that our mind does, which is it always needs an end. It needs a complete statement, otherwise it's going to always wonder what the end is going to be, and it creates multiple scenarios in our mind. So the same principle is being copied by Netflix and so many other social media platforms, wherein they give you a lot of cliffhangers or a lot of choices for you to ponder and wonder which one you want to take. Right? So even in Reels, there are endless possibilities. Since there is no end, you keep going on and on and on. So similarly with our thoughts, if we do not give an ending to it, we can keep going on, and sometimes it cannot be very productive to us, especially in a work scenario wherein we are caught up with deadlines, meeting and interacting with people, and a lot of submissions. Statement 6. I need to figure out every possible outcome before I make a decision. Well, it's a good thing to actually look at multiple scenarios and possibilities before you come up with a decision. But what happens is that even for the smallest of small things, if we incorporate it, we become very slow in decision making. And when we are slow at decision making, what happens is that we don't take much of an action. And when that happens in a workspace, people can think of you to be somebody who is not that motivated, or who is tense, slow, not that intelligent, or cannot take up leadership roles. Well, that's not really the case. You're just trying to weigh in all the possibilities and then take a better decision. So in this quick-paced world, this can be completely against you. So what you can do instead is weigh in the possibilities. Like maybe have a number, like list out 10 things which is going to be helpful to you and 10 things which is not going to be helpful, and then make a decision. Because otherwise what would happen is you would end up taking a lot of time, and people around you might be moving ahead, and when they move ahead, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy that okay, I'm not good enough, these people are moving ahead. So in order to break that particular pattern, what you can do is have a number, like say you're going to give yourself like 20 reasons of helpfulness and 20 reasons where it's not going to help you, and then take a decision. So when you have a number or when you have a deadline, what happens is that you're able to have a goal, and this helps you to take your decisions faster, and at the same time you're weighing in the pros and cons and making a decision. Statement 7. Am I doing enough? Well, again, this is a question. So whenever you're having an open-ended question, try to come up with a statement rather than a question. So things like, I have submitted this particular project and I think this is something that I have done to the best possible capabilities and I am enough. So this was a statement. It was not a question, right? You can probably think of it as, I tried my best. So don't add another question, because when you add another question, like I mentioned, there are endless possibilities and you never stop. Last statement, which is statement number 8. If I don't do this perfectly, I will fail. Well, again, this is the loop of perfectionism that we are at, and we're being very harsh on ourselves, and this can sometimes lead us to be overly anxious in a situation wherein we may not be, and this is all completely done by ourselves and not by an external factor. And when our body is constantly under stress or under pressure, what happens is that your response is always going to be on the edge to different things. So you might be very, very irritated by people, or you might be very conflicted about what you're doing. So instead of experiencing this on a day-to-day and wearing yourself out, you can always be a little kinder to yourself, right? I mean, even though you're not able to do it perfectly today, you'll try to do it better the next day. So you can be a little nicer to yourself. So instead of saying statements like, if I don't do this perfectly well, then I'm going to fail, you can instead say that I'm going to try my best to do this particular thing. If I don't do this perfectly well, then I'm going to fail. You can instead say that I'm going to try my best to do this particular thing. And if I'm not able to do it, I will try to do it the next day. So this way, you're not putting a lot of pressure to yourself, and you will be surprised that you will be doing it better without having this constant nagging pressure put by you, and being a little kind. Like how we say such kind of positive or supportive things to a friend, we can say it to ourselves as well. See, our overthinking mind is just protecting us, but sometimes it can be overprotective, and any kind of overprotection can lead to suffocation, and you might not really like that particular space. So give yourself a little bit break and be a little kinder to yourself. You never know how good you would be if you don't give yourself this chance. So when you're constantly overthinking, it can create a cycle of self-doubt and you value yourself less. So instead of doing it, you can find a mid-ground wherein your overthinking thoughts definitely help you, but you don't have to buy into every single thing that your overthinking mind is saying. So in order to know more about what exactly happens to you when you're overthinking, don't forget to check out the video which I made on overthinking and how does it affect you and your body. So as you know that I'm a therapist, so I'm definitely going to be talking about how therapy is going to help if you're an overthinker. Well, there are many things that it does, but I will tell you the top 3 things that therapy helps for a person who is overthinking. So the first thing is, the person is going to be self-aware about what are the thoughts that they are overthinking about, and you can actually find out a pattern. And once you're able to find a pattern, you'll be able to easily point out, okay, this is the pattern that I'm following, so I need to break out of it. So when that awareness sits in, it helps you to come out of that particular cycle much more quickly. So the next thing is, many of you actually know what are the things that you overthink about and what are the themes in which you overthink. So in therapy, what happens is that we give you a lot of different strategies, like how we discussed in this particular video, different strategies to help you to reduce this overthinking. So whatever I give you right now is the introductory strategies that is out there for overthinking. There is a sea of such kind of strategies that can be easily implemented into your day-to-day lives, and you can actually see results. And these strategies are backed with science. So each of these strategies are something that is not like one size and fits for all. Some strategies are customized just for your requirement, and in a therapy session you kind of identify what is that strategy that works well for you. And the final thing is that you learn to be kinder to yourself and reduce the harshness and pressure that you put on yourself when you overthink. You know, all these things sounds very simple and you can do it on your own. but we have been trying this so hard and still somehow we're not able to get out of that loop. So sometimes certain external factors like therapy can definitely help you to come out of that particular loop. So if you haven't tried it, then maybe whenever you're ready, you can give it a try, because you never know, it can surprise you in ways that you never thought it would. So if you have anybody who is going through overthinking, you can share this video to them and see if whatever we have discussed relates with them, and the solutions that we discussed, try implementing them, and do let us know in the comment section what do you think about this. If you're liking content like this, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, hit the like button and share it with as many friends as you want. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon in our next series, which completely focuses on the day-to-day challenges that young adults face in this modern world.